Eric F. Devitt, Joseph C. Kleinman, Elizabeth G. Troop, Mark and Patricia Parent, Joseph and Aaron Connolly, Butterfield Family Irrevocable Trust, Richard and Loretta Boyce, Frederick and Donna Cavici, Glenn and Joan Cornell, Gary McKee, Karen Zubkowska, the Fury Family Irrevocable Trust, Gerald and Rachel Eaton, Town of Whitman, Donald Westhaver, John and Deborah Tierney, Adam Casey, Aaron Sullivan, Matthew Messier, Eileen Theresa Craven, Edward Peterson, Pamela Peterson.
Thank you. Okay, thanks to everybody who's here. Just so you understand the procedure here, we will first have the applicant make a presentation, explain what they're proposing to do. I'll then read some letters from town boards into the record. We'll have questions and comments from members of the zoning board, and we'll then go out to the public for your questions and comments on the proposal. So we ask, because we treat this like a hearing where we are taking evidence on the project, we ask everybody to raise your right hand and take an oath so you can speak in this. You solemnly swear the evidence you show, given this matter, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you.
Okay, who is making the presentation for the applicant?
I'm going to give a brief one, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, Kyle Garvey representing Jeremy Caruso, who is sitting here tonight. And this is for property at 221 High Street, that is just south of Mayflower Circle. The property contains 48,386 square feet, lies in the residence AA1 zone, and is bordered by several abutters, either on Mayflower Circle or off of lots on Pine Street that back up to the property, and a couple on High Street itself. Jeremy purchased this property in 2013, and at that time, the property contained a unit upstairs, and a unit within the basement that had a kitchen, full bath, bedroom, and living area. He eventually, afterwards, rented that out to family members and to somebody else. He recently, the house is in bad shape for repair. Jeremy went in to get a permit to repair it and met with the building inspector and wants to legally convert that basement unit into a unit itself. It was not registered before. The site, and then the first floor would remain as a unit. The existing site has a garage for parking for the first floor, a separate driveway for the upstairs unit, and another driveway that would be utilized for the second unit. It's most of the area itself is a lawn area in the back. Heavy woods, another 190 feet out. So a long piece of property that's 92 feet by roughly 400, over 500 feet, excuse me. And so the existing house that's there now would remain with no addition, no driveway expansion. It just utilized the existing first and second floors of that unit.
Can you explain how many rooms are there now and what the arrangement will be if this is approved?
There's 3 rooms upstairs and there's 2 rooms downstairs. Bedrooms, yes.
Okay, 3 bedrooms up and 2 down, and that's what you'll, and then kitchen and living room upstairs and similarly downstairs. Okay. All right. Okay, anything further? What about, access to the basement unit? How do you get in and out of it?
There's a door on the side, and then there's also a door in the rear.
I'm sorry, a door on the
On the
side?
side of the house.
Okay.
Entering it, and then on the rear of the building.
Okay. All right, let me read a couple of letters into the record, and then I'll also ask the building inspector to give some input. From the Board of Health, the Whitman Board of Health has no objection to the petition of Jeremy Caruso for a special permit under section 240-5.4A7 to add a second unit within the existing structure for the property located at 221 High Street. As the DPW billing records indicate, this building is connected to municipal sewer and water. Sincerely, Dan Kelly, Health Agent, Board of Health. From Whitman Fire Rescue and Emergency Services, at this time, Whitman Fire Rescue and Emergency Services has no objection to this proposal, provided all applicable fire and building codes are met. Sincerely, Nicholas Grasso, Deputy Chief. Mr. Piccarelli, do you want to give us any background on this? Or
Yeah, so from my understanding, when Jeremy came in to talk to me, there was a business being run out of there in a residential zone. So I went and talked to Jeremy, and through that found out that there were a couple of units in there. And my records didn't reflect any permits being pulled, and that might have been prior to him purchasing the property. So what we're trying to do here is correct what's going on over there. Jeremy came to me, I told him he should come see the board, take corrective measures if the board grants this. Of course, he'll be required to meet all applicable building codes. If the bottom unit's going to be separate, he's going to have two egresses, an hour separation between the two units. He's going to have adequate parking according to the board if you take a look at it. It is a difficult lot if you drive by. All the parking's up front, the topography is very high, and the entire back lot slopes down. So the access to the back is relatively unusable for parking. So this is a corrective measure by Mr. Caruso.
okay. All right. Let me go to members of the board then for their comments and questions. Mr. Curran?
Mr. Chairman, did you say that this is connected to town sewer?
It is.
It is. The exits, the doors into the downstairs apartment, where are they located? One on the side?
One on the side of the house, and then one on the back of the house.
And how far in the back? Is it in the middle or in the...
In the middle of the house.
So how far apart are the exits from inside?
They're pretty far apart. I mean, there's on the back wall, and then on the side over here.
Have you seen it, Rob?
One of those
The other-
exits is
separate or not?
I
Right here.
have seen it, but actually, there's going to be the door that exists on the right side of the house now is going to become a window, and then there's going to be a double door that's further up, closer to the house. He has the blueprint probably on the new sketch of.
So is there, can I see that?
Yeah,
Is there windows in the back of the
there
house?
is.
All along the back?
There's a couple. Yeah, definitely.
So you'll have to make those egress compatible?
Yes.
For bedrooms?
Yes. It's a walkout in the back.
Yeah.
It's all flat.
So there's plenty of room for windows?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All right, so you would have to submit a floor plan to...
I haven't seen that, so yeah, they're going to have to submit a floor plan to me. It's going to have to meet the building codes.
Yeah, Rob will make sure the building code stuff is...
Sure.
And how many units were in the basement? Was there two?
There was 2 bedrooms in there.
Was there 2 apartments or just...
One apartment in the basement. When I moved in, it was considered a potential in-law.
All right, that's all I have.
all right.
I'm going to take a picture.
Mr. Keeman?
I am not at this time.
Okay. Mr. Andrews?
Yeah, was there anything for the plan?
No, there wasn't. Do you recall the planning board?
I didn't recall just what it was.
It was favorable action.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kimball.
From the, The bottom, which was the cellar, is gonna be the bottom unit, is that right? The 2 bedroom,
Yes.
and how many bedrooms on the first floor?
There's 3.
And there is no second floor.
That's correct.
That's all I have.
Okay. I allow members of the board who was not going to be voting on the case, but are here to participate, I allow them to ask questions as well. So, Mr. Kimball?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What is the square footage of the second unit? Is it more than 900 square feet?
Yes. Yes. It's at least as.
Can I see the application for-
At least as many square feet as the top.
I'll bring it right back.
Okay, so relative to the little zoning law that the state has put in, an accessory unit would have to be 900 square foot or less. So this makes it a true two-family and not an accessory unit.
Right.
And this is a two-family house in a predominantly single-family neighborhood. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman, at this time.
Mr. Blas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
There's nothing under the garage.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as big as.
Is anyone living there now?
No.
No, it's empty. And the utilities, how is this fed?
National Grid, electric.
How many services?
It's just one now, but my plan would be to make it 2.
Is there access to the basement apartment from the first floor?
No.
So every house, when they were built, that had a basement, had some way to get in the basement. You didn't go outside to get in the basement, so how was that remedied?
The basement stairs were taken out? There is a side entry door, and if you're looking at that picture, I don't know how, I mean, it looks quite old to me. I mean, obviously, I'm not looking at the picture.
You took it back. I think you took it back.
Oh, you have that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to see, but the entry is right there.
It's right.
I think what Mr. Blas is saying, there must have been an internal staircase.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
So how do you heat the first floor, the upstairs?
It's all oil
It's all oil. And where's your oil tank and your furnace?
in the basement.
So how do you access your oil tank and your furnace? Do you have to go into the apartment, or is there some other access to, let's call it the utility area?
I want to say there's no other access other than going down that basement. Bottom floor.
Is the circuit breaker panel down there too, for the first floor?
For the first floor, yes, but the plan would be separated, so I
You
have,
put a panel upstairs?
yes,
Sorry.
I do.
No, thank you.
Bob,
We have a panel in the garage, but it's only some of the electric. That's just a shed.
It just seems to be backwards. Having the utility in the second unit as opposed to a common area or an area that's accessible by the upstairs main unit. That's all. I
Okay,
have.
just see the picture. Oh, okay. Mr. Jones, did you have any questions or comments?
Not at this time.
Okay. So is there a garage like on the side? Is that sort of the setback?
Yeah, it doesn't really show in the picture. Well, you can just see
Yeah.
you can just see the outside corner of it, yeah.
And is it like it's one car, right?
Two car.
Oh, that's a 2-car garage.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no living space in the basement on this whole
Okay.
portion right here.
Okay, so the living area is really just sort of the rectangular
Yeah.
bottom is what,
Yes,
Of
which
the
is the same as
diagram.
really the first floor.
okay, all right. Yeah, the one concern I had going by there is the parking, because it pretty much, you look like either it was a circular driveway or just entirely paved on top, I don't recall.
There's two driveways actually. There's one over here that could hold about 4 cars, and there's one over here that could do the same. If you fill it with cars.
Yeah, but it's pretty much, I mean, you pretty much have to pull in from the street. I mean, it's like, your house is pretty close to the street.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to hear what the neighbors have to say. I think I'd be happier if it was a 1-bedroom unit in the basement than 2 bedrooms. Just, again, I know you're saying there's enough parking there, but I think the fact that it's close to the street and the cars just sort of have to pull in towards the building, although the house itself would retain the appearance of a single-family house. I'm concerned about having, several cars parked there. I think that'll make it look like more than a single family. So see what the board has to say, but I'd be more comfortable if there was only 1 bedroom in the basement.
Just one point on that with the 1-bedroom unit, a 30 by 30 house is 900 square feet. This wouldn't be more than that in the basement unit.
Yeah.
But that's not what you're asking relief on.
We just.
So this isn't on the ADU, this is
No.
on the conversion of existing to,
Correct.
yeah, and that's allowed by special permit.
Yeah, so I would say,
Provided there's 18,000 square feet of land, which it does have.
but anything further, just based on what's been said in terms of, again,
I don't have
what
any other
permits?
questions at this point, other than, like you said, the parking and the building code will have to be met. You're gonna have to do basically a lot of work over there. You're probably gonna have to bring all the wiring up to date and everything the board's mentioned. So,
Okay. All right, let me go out to the public. So when I call on you, please raise your hand, give us your name and address. Raise your hand and then I'll call on you. But give us your name and address, and just direct your comments to me. If there's questions we need a response to, I'll turn to the applicant and his representative. Before I start, Joe and Elizabeth Kleinman here?
I can come.
Okay, so I'm going to read that they sent a letter, so I'm going to read their letter into the record since they weren't able to come. To whom it may concern, this letter is in response to the requested hearing on petition of Jeremy Caruso for a special permit to add a second unit within the existing structure for the property located at 221 High Street. We regret that we are unable to attend the hearing scheduled for Monday, November 25th, 2024. However, we wish to formally express our concerns regarding any proposed modifications to the property. Purchased in 2013, the property has been plagued by stalled construction and disrepair for nearly a decade. It is our understanding that the owner created a basement ground level unit several years ago, and based on feedback from the many tenants who have inhabited that space, it has never been maintained to safe and adequate living standards. From our vantage point, the ground floor of the property has been left exposed to the elements for years. We advised multiple tenants that rats and possums were seen both inside of the residence and in the various piles of debris throughout the yard, but attempts to remedy have never been observed. The property has long been cluttered with construction debris, broken furniture, and remnants of damaged structures. Although we have been informed of attempts to repair the vandalized areas since the property became vacant in July, the only visible advance has been repair of the front yard turned parking area. Rather than seeing improvements to the property, additional waste has accumulated, including tattered mattresses and an abandoned boat. Having young children, our wish is to maintain a safe and stable living environment. We have taken it upon ourselves to remove hazardous debris, including nail-riddled boards that have encroached onto our property and driveway. Our children have frequently had to cease outdoor play to avoid witnessing verbal altercations, unattended dogs, and unauthorized vehicles using our driveway for access to the back of the property, despite both written and verbal indication that permission was required. The owner has neglected to manage the property responsibly, leading to an undesirable living situation for all neighbors, as documented by police and animal control logs. We believe that the owner should be compelled to demonstrate ability to maintain and manage the property adequately before any requests are considered. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Joe and Elizabeth Kleinman, 217 High Street, Whitman, Mass., which is the immediate abutter to the south here. I'll let you respond if you wish to that before I go out
I
to...
just had a nightmare of tenants the last handful of years over there that have completely ruined my house beyond recognition. You wouldn't even think it was the same house that I allowed these people to go in, which has put me in a major setback, not to mention they were people that you wouldn't want living near you. I understand any person who would be upset that these people were at the house, but that was kind of out of my hands, and I was able to evict them after a long, long process and money to get them out of there. And I do apologize, a sincere apology, that anybody would have to put up with that kind of living near. I'd be pretty upset if I was any of the neighbors and I had to deal with them. But they're out of their life, my life, and I don't really know what to say other than they were the cause of any disrupt. And I've had a exterminator, and I haven't seen any rats there. There were rats at one point, but I've basically taken care of that. The property isn't in disarray. I've cleaned it up as much as I would think I would need to. There is a boat that I have in the backyard because I don't have tons of driveway space. I have no way to put that boat, so it's in the backyard. I plan on selling it. It's not going to stay there, but it shouldn't be a big deal in my eyes that there's a boat in the backyard. That's about it.
Okay, thanks.
Do you live there?
I don't right now. I would like to, though.
Okay, but on your application, you
It
this
does
year,
say my address there, but that was incorrect.
so you're an absentee landlord.
What's that?
You're absentee landlord.
Yes.
So are you renting out
I live in
the...
the town. I live at my wife's townhouse right now because my house is unlivable right now. But that's what my address resides on, is 221 High Street. And I'm just not living there until I get this, hopefully get the permit granted so I can repair my house and it will be livable again.
Were you renting both the first floor and the downstairs?
At one point. But
You live there also?
I lived there upstairs and I was renting downstairs.
Is there anybody living on the first floor now?
No,
So the house is empty.
the house is empty, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, anyone wishes to speak, raise your hand, please, and I'll call on you.
Thanks, Tom.
Yes, sir, can I have your name and address, please?
Joe Conley, 226 High Street,
So you're like across the street?
right across.
Okay, thank you.
That letter, I couldn't have said it any better. I guess I would like to know, hear from Jeremy, the plan going forward. Obviously, the vetting was horrendous. It was a nightmare to live across the street. And I just would like to know, what's the plan? Are you gonna have a real estate agent deal with that, or are you gonna do it yourself, or, because didn't do a very good job of managing the property and vetting the tenant.
Mr. Caruso, do you want to respond?
Well, I plan on living there, so I plan on upkeeping the property properly. I just had, like I said, that nightmare tenant that shunned me away from even wanting to go near my house. So I guess it was somewhat neglected for a little while because of the people that were living there, but I have full intents of making my house nice again the way it was when I moved in there, and then some.
Are you gonna have to do work upstairs then too?
Oh yeah, plenty. They destroyed it.
Okay. All right, anyone else wish to speak? Yes, sir.
Eric Devon, 205 High Street. I'm absolutely against adding an additional dwelling at 221 High Street. Based on the past tenants there, I don't want to double the chance, we'll deal with double the terror that we all endured over the past 2+ years. With the last tenants, we dealt with frequent late night disturbances, violent screaming matches in the streets that force our children to flee inside, and dogs climbing our fences to get into our yards and homes to terrify our families. We can't have that again, can't take that chance twofold. It's not fair to my family, neighbors, and the town government. We called the police and dispatch other town resources consistently to deal with fights, unruly fires, and late night issues. The last tenants put us through hell and we cannot go through that again. We moved next to a single family dwelling and it should stay like that. I'm hoping that he vets the next people that rent this house because what we all went through for the past 2 years was unacceptable.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Erin Collier, 226. So Jeremy, you're gonna move back into the home.
Yes,
So you'll be residing on the top floor
that's correct.
and you'll just be renting the bottom.
That's correct.
And I don't, well then I guess that changes what I was gonna discuss as far as the parking. I don't think safely could the parking spot for the downstairs basement hold for be, I don't think it would be possible at all.
What, to get 4 cars?
Yeah,
I was kind of like saying how big the driveway was itself. If you wanted to put
You
4 cars in,
could
you could.
maybe.
I would never want to put 4 cars in. I was just trying to give everybody a clear picture of how big that actually space is right there, without knowing the square footage.
Let me ask to clarify the garage and the driveway. Like if you're in the first floor, you said the garage would actually hold 2 cars. Is there an internal doorway from the garage to the first floor?
There's no door that connects the garage with the first floor.
Okay. And then you have space in front of that garage. But again,
but that.
Again, that gets to my-
Jeremy's parking.
yeah, and that's what I was getting to is,
Yeah.
So that takes care of the first floor. But that gets to my concern about if the board were inclined to approve this, having 2 bedrooms in the basement, which probably means 3 cars. Who knows? If it's 1 bedroom, probably it's just 1 car. Maybe there's a couple, but often it winds up being a single person. And then, okay, I can see the car. I mean, you basically have to park sideways in front of the house. It's really
Oh, you get plenty of
a bit of an angle, and there really isn't any space in the side of the house. I don't know how wide. I was going to ask you, how did you get a boat to the back of the house? It looks like I can't.
the neighbor's driveway.
Oh, okay. Because there's not much room on the side of the house between that and your lot line.
Correct.
So that's why you really can't expand the parking there because there really isn't any space there. So, anything else, ma'am? I didn't want to
That'll
interrupt.
hold roughly I mean, by the space requirements for the town of Whitman, two cars, John.
2 cars where? In front of the house? Or are
On the
you?
right side and then on the other side.
Yeah,
Right?
that wasn't, my observation looking at it. Not,
Well, there's
Looks like you put
one in
3
the
there.
picture now, isn't it?
yeah.
You could put 3.
Put 3 cars there easy.
Huh?
You can put 3 cars side by side, put 3 pickup trucks side by side.
But then you'd be on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
That's about where you park in there.
Yeah. Right. Ma'am, I didn't want to cut you off. I was trying to, do you have anything further?
we finished off what I was.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
okay. Anyone else? I think, sir, in back, did you want to speak?
My name's Mark Parent, live at 220 High Street. My only concern is, it's been stated a couple times, was it's a mess that everybody endured the last 5 or 6 years. Just, it's gonna be, you know, Jeremy's gonna be there himself, but, you know, you never know what you're gonna rent to. You know? I think it would, by cutting it down to 1 bedroom in the cellar, there's probably a limit, that you only probably have like 1 person that's there rather than 2. If you get a couple of different, like you said, you just multiply the problems you can have, and, you know, and maybe it's just timing. Right now, the neighbors aren't ready for a debacle that we had.
I mean, John, he's, as Rob states, the units need a lot of work, and it's gonna be a lot of money. So for somebody putting in at least probably $250,000 to this, redoing this, I don't think he's gonna let it turn to crap again. But that's my only opinion.
Yeah. But, you know, I do have
And
to
I
point.
didn't live there, and the neighbors obviously had some quick complaints.
Yeah, and, you know, I do want to point out, we don't have any ability to require that the unit be owner occupied. So, you know, if we approve a special permit, it's basically allowing a second unit in the building. You know, Mr. Caruso may indeed move back in at some time in the future. He might sell the house, and whoever owns the house could rent it, could live there and have a basement unit for rent, or might just operate it as a rental and have 2 rental units. So that's, you know, that's just something we have to consider. Is once we give the permit, it goes forward to successive owners. So, anyone else wish to speak on this? Yes, sir.
John Tierney, 161 Pine Street. I'm really kind of far away from that property, but
You back,
it's
you,
tenants, and I feel bad for them. But it happened over a year or 2 with the dogs. They come in my yard, jump on my deck. I have gates on my deck, but they know how to climb and jump. And my next door neighbor, they have a trampoline, and their daughter was in the trampoline, and you got the dog circling the trampoline. There's still a pile of crap out in the back corner that should be removed. As far as the 2-family, you should have separate utilities. So you were saying it should be a 1 bedroom, so you can put the utilities in to access them separately. I'm wondering, what's under the garage? Is there room to put your utilities under there?
No, there's nothing under the garage.
Other than that, I live far enough away. It's not really gonna bother me. I just hope you don't get another tenant like that.
Mr.
okay.
Chairman,
Yeah, Mr.
Just to piggyback on what Mr. Harvey said, it is gonna be an extensive undertaking for Mr. Caruso. If you do grant the 2 units, he's gonna also have to probably have the DPW approve separate water and sewage hookup, which is gonna be quite expensive. And I don't know how the lot's gonna lay out. Separate panels for electricity. I can't speak for Mr. Caruso. My meeting with him was through an order. Again, I had complaints. I had to send him an order, and we ended up mediating in court. I think that he was a little bit lost at the time, and he realized he had to go through an eviction in order to remedy this. So I can't speak for him. I think he's trying to do it right, but I can understand the board where it's a single-family neighborhood if they choose not to do it.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Mr. Cummings.
If I were to go there now, I mean, daytime, what would I see in the backyard? Is it a mess?
No,
You cleaned it all up?
I don't think it's a mess.
Is there a pile of trash out
Oh,
there?
there's like, there's some sort of a pile of something in the back that needs to be removed. Like, it used to be like a fire pit or something that like they had thrown like mattresses and there's coils and this, but I can take care of that ASAP.
Are you caring for the property now? or-
I am, yes.
All right, how long?
I haven't even really been there. I'm just busy with my life and I was kind of waiting for this before I did anything over there, but at the same time, I can make sure that pile of, if there's anything back there that needs to be cleaned up,
Well,
it's
there's-
taken care of immediately.
There's no way to have the heat for the first floor down in the lower apartment. So that means that's all gonna have to come out. Otherwise, you'd have to deal with penetrations and.
He's gonna have to separate it out. I mean, he can put heat pumps in the lower floor. I'm not gonna design it for him, Bob. That's gonna be for them to present to me.
But that's a lot of work. It's gonna be a lot of money.
To my point, it's gonna be an extensive undertaking for him.
That's where I wonder, again, we're not gonna design it for you, but if this were only a one-bedroom in the basement, would that free up room that could be connected to the top floor so you've got access?
Again, I haven't spent a lot of time in the house.
No.
If the stairs were taken out, he's gonna have to have a second means of egress on the first floor. He's gonna have to redesign both floors.
Is there only one exit from the first floor right now?
Oh, that's true.
You got two exits up top?
Yeah, so you can go on the back deck.
Okay. All right, let's come back to the board for just discussion. What's the sense of what people want to do on this?
I'm not opposed to having a one bedroom there, but my concern is that if he's not being proactive in cleaning up the property, I don't think I could vote for this.
The property should be okay.
Yeah, I mean,
We would all go down there and look at it.
I think so, yeah.
Well, since I surveyed it, the first day I was there was a red dumpster in the front.
I had
In the
filled that
picture,
once.
the dumpsters are gone, they were full, so he did clean. I don't know what he cleaned up, but there was a dumpster there when we were surveying, because we couldn't survey our way around into the backyard because the dumpsters were there, so they're gone now, so somebody must have filled them with something.
could we,
My feeling is that if we were to allow this, it would probably, the end result would be a much nicer property. I don't agree with 2 bedrooms in the basement. Are you okay with 1 bedroom?
I would like to try to make it 2 bedroom.
I feel like that's too much there, but, again, that's all I.
you can still get a decent amount of money for one
know.
bedroom, I can tell you.
I would just, but at the same time, if that's the only thing that you are allowing, of course, I'm gonna say yes, it'll be fine.
In terms of what trash might be still in the back, I mean, I think we certainly could make a condition that the building permit would not be issued until until the property is cleaned up. You know, that's the first thing that gets done, not the last thing.
Yeah, and Rob, you require a full set of drawings for this, right? I think that overall, as much as we're hearing complaints, that this may be a better situation if we allow it. I will not vote for 2 bedrooms.
Mr. Keenan?
I agree with the 1 bedroom downstairs, especially where it's a single family neighborhood. I think the 1 bedroom is the maximum you should allow down there. And I could probably go along with that, with the 1 bedroom.
Mr. Andrews?
I don't see how I can vote for this the way it is. It just needs so much work.
Let them spend the money.
How about, giving them a 6-month period and come back again?
So withdraw without prejudice and
Yeah.
get to work. But my only concern with that
In
is,
other words, show us that a lot of work has been done. And maybe he can answer a lot of the questions a little better at that time.
my only response to that, Mr. Andrews, would be, if he's gonna go ahead and do the work, he needs to know whether he's got a single-family house or a second unit, and how big the second, because he's got to basically design the whole thing, the utilities, possibly restoring a connection from the first floor to the basement to access utilities. I don't know, but I'm just thinking, we could say clean up the back before we approve something, but I don't know how much she can go ahead and get to work on this project without knowing what it's gonna be. That's my sense.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Just, again, I'm not in favor of it or against it. I'm trying to be impartial here, but, based on this lot, as I'm looking at it, come February, he's gonna have the right to put in a 900 square foot unit in the back if he meets the dimensional setbacks and have an accessory dwelling unit.
Yeah, to explain to people, the state has passed a new law that'll go into effect in February, which will allow practically anybody to have a second unit in their house. We have in this town have had what we call an accessory apartment bylaw for many years, where you can have a second unit in your house if you're renting it to a member of the family, children or parents. This new state law will just kind of override that. So we actually will lose some control, and it won't require a special permit for it either. They'll be able to do it by right, up to 900 square feet. So, and the most that we could require would be one parking space for that second unit. Doesn't even say it's limited to one bedroom, just to 900 square feet.
Right there, should I not have done this and just waited till February 2nd?
Well, if I may, John?
Yep.
Is our bylaw going to say that it has to be conforming lot to allow?
Well, yes. Just to finish, the state is allowing towns to have some types of regulations, but not others. And we're now in the process of drafting a bylaw. We'll have to go to town meeting in May, but if we get moving on it soon enough, it'll apply to anything in the meantime as well for various technical reasons. But one of the provisions that we're proposing in the bylaw is that if it's a non-conforming unit or a non-conforming lot, in this case a non-conforming unit because it doesn't meet setback requirements, it was built before zoning, that it would at least require a finding from the zoning board that it's not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing situation. So if that goes through, if town meeting approves it and so forth, then we would still have control over the property. But bottom line is there's some uncertainty about what our level of control is going to be going forward. Yeah. Mr. Kimball?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I think we should let bygones be bygones. Something that's in the past, it looks like we're going to get something better in the future, so I appreciate that. My concern is it's a single-family neighborhood, so I don't think he can put an accessory unit in up to 900 square feet. But if it's more than 900 square feet, then it becomes a true two-family, and I don't think we want a two-family in a single-family neighborhood. The 900 square foot unit is a pretty good-sized unit.
Well, it's allowed in the A1 residential with a special permit. So
I understand that.
a two-family is allowed with a special permit. That's what it's here for.
I understand. I don't like to see two families in single-family neighborhoods. It is allowed if the board votes on it.
Now, I don't disagree with your thought.
But I think if I go with an accessory apartment, my question to the building inspector, do I have the same separation issues with a two-family as an accessory unit?
No,
I think with the new laws that are coming out, we're gonna be basically separating everything, because there's nothing that's gonna say you can't rent them.
So if somebody wanted to do an in-law with a family occupied, you might as well do it as.
In-laws are going out, they're going the way of the dinosaur. It's because it's gonna be an accessory dwelling unit.
You're right. So you can put the fire separation.
So, I mean.
Although that's part of the uncertainty is what is the state going to require of this? Will it treat it as a two-family and, under the building, what are they going to do under the building code? Who knows?
The building code's gonna have to step up and say, we're gonna enforce all of the requirements for life safety.
Yeah.
Because there's not gonna be any requirements at the state level that says you can't rent this.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Commissioner. That's all I have, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
Mr. Claus?
Okay, I look at this, I guess, a little more simply. This was converted illegally. Unfortunately sold to Mr. Caruso as potentially a two-family, or potentially, actually you said potentially an in-law. If it had been kept up as a two-family, kept up as an in-law, then perhaps I would look favorably at this. But I would think that setting aside what's going to happen come February, the best thing for this property would be to return to a single family. Get rid of it, because it needs a lot of work anyway. Get rid of the downstairs unit, turn it back into a single family home. It's going to cost a lot less money to do that. It'd be better for the neighborhood. Probably the way it should have been kept to begin with. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mm-hmm. So I'm sensing there's at least 2 votes in the board against allowing even a 1-bedroom here. Mr. Claus and Mr. Andrews. Is that true, Mr. Andrews? And so you would need 4 out of 5 to approve it, and my sense is that it's not there. So we can close the hearing and proceed to a vote, or you can withdraw without prejudice in case you want to, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, can I just get some clarification
Yeah.
from Mr. Blas when he says get rid of the downstairs? There is statute that if it's been there for more than 10 years, you can disallow the use. When you say get rid of, you're not talking about having him rip out things, are you?
Well, I'm return it to a single family home,
So
which would mean you'd have to get rid of the kitchen.
is there a kitchen down there now, Jeremy?
There was.
I don't believe that you can, again, I think statute says a single family home can have 2 kitchens. So,
It's about the use. He
so
cannot-
you can discontinue the use and tell him he can only use it as a single family.
Okay.
But once we start telling him to remove things that may have been there for more than 10 years, I think you're getting into uncharted
I guess what I mean, Rob, is simply to bring it back to a single family. You can put a basement in a single family if you want, so long as you meet all of the requirements.
You have another
You
bed.
just can't use it as a
Can't
two-family.
use it as a two-family.
You can have another, make it
Correct.
a 4 or 5 bedroom rather than a 3-bedroom if that's what they choose to do.
Mr. Chairman, though, if we deny it, he can come back in February and put an accessory unit in by right.
And then he would meet all the
He
requirements.
he wouldn't need to come back to this board.
Unless the bylaw at least requires a finding, there's at least a
We're not gonna
possibility.
have a bylaw.
Yeah, if the bylaw is advertised in January
Really?
before
Then
then
we-
whatever's approved if it's approved in May, it dates back,
Oh, good.
yeah.
I think if the board chooses to make it by finding, I think you should put the language in there that it should be by this board. as far
Oh,
as the
yes.
finding.
Yes, yeah. So, but again, if that happens, it's sort of out of our hands anyway. So. Scotty, I don't know if you want to confer with your client and,
No, I guess we want the board to vote, because
okay,
not moving back.
all right. Does anybody have anything further to say on this?
Yes, Sydney, there are actually a couple other 2 families within, directly across the street. There's a 2-family, 3 houses away to the south. There's also a 2-family on the corner of Pine Street. So it's within this little area here, 2-family, and there's the locus.
All right. Yes, sir, you want to say something further? Yes.
Follow up. My home is a 2-family across the street.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve.
I'll close the hearing then. I'm gonna close the hearing. I'm gonna suggest that there be a motion to approve. If it doesn't get 4 votes, so be it, but I think that's just procedurally, I think that's better than a vote to disapprove, so, Mr. Curran, I'll
So
entertain
I'm gonna
you.
make a motion to approve, the petition as a 1-bedroom apartment in the basement, with stipulation that the owner cleans up the lot before any permits are issued, and the building commissioner, okays it before he does it.
All right. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Mr. Keeman. All right, any further discussion on the motion? Just so everybody knows, for a special permit to be issued of the 5 members voting, 4 have to vote in favor. All right, Mr. Andrews, something further?
So the motion is to make it a 1-bedroom.
1 bedroom. All right, this motion,
The first and the second, right?
yes. All right, anything further from discussion from
So
members?
that means, right now it's the way it is. And if we approve it, it would be a 1-family, or a 1-bedroom downstairs, but nothing could be done to construction or permits until everything's cleaned up, correct?
To the satisfaction of the building inspector.
And everything would
Correct.
have to be submitted to you, the building commissioner, prior to any permits being issued. And you would have basically control over what's allowed to be done on that unit or on that lot and when. I'm just afraid that if I vote no, it's going to remain empty, blighted, and an eyesore and a health issue for the neighborhood.
And I will say that's entering into my thinking too. I'm just afraid if we don't give the owner a way to go forward on this, the property will sit there or who knows what. All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve a special permit for a 1-bedroom only with the stipulation that property be cleaned up to the satisfaction of the building inspector before any building permits are issued. And obviously all the plans have to be approved by the building inspector under the building code. All those in favor of that motion? Okay, 5-0. Okay, it's approved with those conditions. I appreciate everybody coming. This has been important and helpful to us to have you here. And it's a difficult situation. I think we're trying to make the best of it that we can. Thank you.
I need to see you down. I see the thing.
All right, all right.
Sorry, see the back.
Don't need it back. If you want it, you have it. So it's
Rob will keep going under
Kyle. They did that to your client.
on an appeal?
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, what was the address for today's plans?
There isn't an address yet because there's no building on it. It's adjacent to 81 Bedford Street.
So it's just plan, block, and lot?
It's a vacant lot across from, it's the big one where the transmission lines run through.
Oh, okay. What's been going on there with all the Delphi
Yeah.
texters?
Well, Rob issued a stop order on it because he's running a business, a dumpster business, Delphi.
I was wondering.
Yeah, I kept going by saying, okay, he didn't come to me.
I thought maybe they were clearing topsoil. That wasn't owned by Peaceful Metals?
It was owned by Peaceful Meadows,
That was
yeah.
part of it. So
Then it went for auction and
that
then
was
some.
the
the lady that bought it, it fell through, because they advertised it as 5 acres and it was only like 3. So she withdrew after she bid like $1 million for a little house. Everybody was saying, "What is this Chinese lady doing?" So
who owns it?
Delpre. Michael Delpre bought it.
Oh.
And he's fixed up the house, which I cut the house off, so he's fixed up the house. And
Are the kids involved?
All right, we're out.
It's not here.
okay, well, have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you, you too.
Yeah.
Because I had a couple of emails about the,
I submitted that Delpre plan to them. and we got it. Yeah, they put in a map. Yeah, they put in.
anyway, I had a couple of emails. I'm going to recess the meeting till we start the next hearing. Okay, yeah, here we go. It's the same plans we had before, but
Do we need them?
make sure you have them. Okay, let me open this hearing. So this is case 19, is it? 19, 305 Bedford Street, units 1 and 2, Whitman. Type of district, highway business. Type of structure, existing. Owner's name, Sweezy Properties LLC. Owner's address, 233 Bedford Street, Whitman. When did you acquire this property? Not applicable because it's being applied for by a proposed tenant. Has application been filed with town clerk? Has any previous appeal been made? Yes. Case number 8 of 2023. Section of bylaw of which relief is requested, whether this would be the section dealing with marijuana. Reason for asking relief. Berkeley Botanicals is seeking an amendment to its existing special permit, case 8 to 2023, in order to add additional conditions based upon Berkeley Botanicals amended host community agreement. There are no other proposed changes to the existing special permit. The additional proposed conditions are attached to this application, and let me pass those.
Are you Ken?
No, I'm the owner of Berkeley Botanicals.
Oh, okay.
And my landlord.
Yeah. Let me just start. I don't know if anybody printed out a copy of what I sent, but anybody doesn't have one.
You read it?
Yeah, whoever needs one.
Print it.
Yeah.
Property, the tenant.
Okay, so sitting on the case will be Mr. Curran, Mr. Keeman, Mr. Andrews, Mr. Blas, and myself, John Goldrose. And this time we'll have the reading of the list of abutters, unless I hear a motion to.
Is this a new case, or is it?
We had them apply as a new case,
So I can sit on this?
Yes, yeah, and you can sit even if you weren't on the original case.
Mr. Chairman, due to the apparent lack of interest on the amount of abutters, I would suggest we waive the.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Andrews, second
Second.
by Mr. Blas, all in favor? Okay. Are you here for this case too?
I am.
Okay, well, you are going to be able to speak.
the reading.
Yes. No, and I want to start, so first the case is being recorded. If anybody's here to perhaps speak in this, would you raise your hand? Solemnly swear the answer you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay. I'm going to, yes.
Did the person request to hear the abutters?
Well, the board can waive the reading.
Okay.
Yeah. You're in a butter, right? Are you? No.
Right behind it.
Yeah. We just don't want to read a whole list when there's none.
I just want to know
but
what
you're-
they're looking for.
Yes,
Why they're stepping outside.
exactly. And that's what I'm going to start by explaining rather than letting the applicant explain. Let me explain how we got here. So, in order to open a marijuana establishment, applicants had to first be approved by the Board of Selectmen, and there were only like 3 allowed. The Board of Selectmen had to sign a host community agreement with the applicant detailing financial arrangements, any conditions the selectmen wanted to impose, and then they had to come to us for a special permit. So they did that, they got the host community agreement done, came to us. Were you here a year ago when we had? Yeah. So, they came to us, we had a whole presentation, discussion, and we approved it with conditions. Now, when we approved it with conditions, we knew what was in the host community agreement, so we didn't bother duplicating things that were already there. Well, then along comes the state of Massachusetts and amends the cannabis law and gives, previously the Cannabis Control Commission didn't really have control over what was in the host community agreements. That was kind of just left up. But in some towns that led to some twisting of arms, shall we say, of the applicants that they thought was unfair. So the state changed it so the Cannabis Control Commission would have oversight of the host community agreements. And I think everybody figured, all right, you'll submit the host community agreement to the state, and if there's something that's really inconsistent with the state law, you'll have to change it. Well, instead, the way the commission has behaved is that the commission drew up its own model host community agreement, and if you submitted anything to the state that wasn't exactly what was in the model, they disapproved it. They didn't say what was wrong with your local agreement. They didn't say how it violated state law. They just disapproved it. And the applicant can't get a permit from the state without an approved host community agreement. So they went back to the selectmen and said, what are we going to do here? The only way we can move forward is to accept this model host community agreement, which didn't have anything really objectionable in it. It just didn't let the town have everything that it wanted. Mm-hmm. So I was brought in and talked to the town administrator and went to a meeting of the Board of Selectmen. And what we agreed, because I said, my concern with that was we would have put things in the special permit conditions if we had known they weren't going to be in the host community agreement. Mm-hmm. So met with the Board of Selectmen and the applicant, and what the selectmen agreed to do was to accept the state's model host community agreement, replace what had been done previously, provided that the applicant come back to us and give us a chance to add additional conditions to cover what would have otherwise been in the selectmen's agreement. So that's why they're here.
Okay. Thank you.
I was going to get all that on the record anyway. So believe me, not just because you're here. I would have done it if there was nobody in the room, so it's on the tape recording. So following up to that, I did something I don't usually do, which is to actually draw up a list of conditions ahead of time. But, just to make the process go, I drew it up. We had the, take a copy of that. We had the applicant's attorney take a look at it and make sure that it looked okay to them so that they would be comfortable with going forward with this process. We didn't want to sandbag them, So that's where we are. They're here. I've distributed those proposed conditions to the board. There's one of them I definitely want to have the board have some discussion about. But that's how we got here. They're not proposing. I'll leave it to the applicant to explain this, but as I understand it, no changes to the site plan, right? And what about any changes to your operation from what was previously presented to us? Okay. And where are you, just, timing, permitting, and just identify yourself for the record.
I figured I'd just address everybody. Matt Radabon, one of the owners for Berkeley Botanicals. From a timing perspective, we've totally built out the space. We've been stuck in this regulatory kind of loop. It all started when, I believe it was as of March 31st, the CCC said that they need to approve all HCAs for new applicants. I notified the town manager, communication with the town attorney. They said we felt it was a good HCA, please submit. I said, okay, I submitted the HCA. The state rejected it, went back to the town. They said, we still think it's good, submit again. I did. I submitted the HCA. They rejected it. They said, go back again. I submitted it again. They rejected it. And then finally, we got to the point of a discussion of, what are the next steps? How can we move forward? Because we've done kind of everything, gone through the process. We went through the special permit. We went through submitting of the building permits. We met all the requirements of getting the space built. And we can't move forward without a compliant HCA. So there, over 2 selectmen meetings, it was brought up and they eventually voted on it. And then there was a period of time with the conditions being drafted, and then we agreed to every single condition that the town wanted, and because we're committed to opening. So from this point, we just got the compliant HCA, we submitted, we're deemed complete with the state. We're waiting to be on a town meeting. The state meeting. We're hoping that we'll be on a December meeting. We've gone through all of our background checks. We've been fingerprinted. We've submitted our FBI background checks. Everything, that's all done. The next step would they deem complete the entire background check process. If we make it in enough time for them to be able to put it onto an agenda, we'll be on the December 15th. If not, we're waiting till January. Then from January, we have to have them inspect our security diagrams, because we can't get ahead. We have to go in order. So even though everything's built and done, they have to inspect our plans for our security diagrams. They can make any recommendations to add additional cameras at that point. And then at that point, once they've signed off, we can call for our first inspection. They'll come through and schedule an interview. So they'll start with scheduling an interview with me, going through all of our policies and procedures, all our SOPs, everything before they step foot in the building. Once I finish the interview and review everything, all my documentation, then they'll schedule their first inspection. They'll do their first inspection, they'll file their report, and depending on when it is, they will hopefully get on the next meeting. If it's kind of in the middle of the month, you have a better chance to getting on the next meeting. If it's the end of the month, you're waiting a month after that. So after we get on that meeting, we'll get our final license, and at that point we have to call for an additional inspection. They'll have to come through again, and then after that, we're able to bring in products for that inspection, and they'll ensure that everything is labeled correctly. We have all of our educational materials ready to open, and at that point, they'll file their report, and they'll say, at whatever timeline they do, I don't know what that is, they will give us our commence to operate, and once we get a commence to operate, we still have to wait another 3 days. So it's a long process. I'm hoping at this point, May.
Yeah, I was going to say May, June.
May or June. I mean, even though it's done, any other business, they get a building permit, it's probably they're going to be open. But I've been fighting this fight for a pretty long time.
You've been in a regulatory loop for 12 months.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's kind of that's where we are today. And we, attorneys, we all work together, and I agreed to, without any pushback, every single thing that was proposed.
Okay.
Are you paying rent every month still?
Yes. Yep, we've been paying rent every month.
Yeah. All right.
How do all these little places in Brockton get to open up? Do they try to do the same thing?
So they went through. It took them a pretty long time. So from the day they opened, you have to probably go back 18 months to 2 years. It took to go through it because it just takes so long with just the inspections. And if you're in the summer months, people take vacations. As people have wives, they're allowed to take vacations. These inspectors, and you only have one inspector that can do your inspection that's assigned to you. So you have to. People are allowed to take time off, and it's just. People have families, and you have to expect, but it's just, there's a process.
Especially when they work for the state.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll say it for the record that I don't know if you read anything in the papers, but the Cannabis Control Commission has been just totally dysfunctional for the last almost year.
Yeah.
Without an executive, without her, they lost their executive director because she had pushed him out. There's no top attorney there. They don't have it. Of course, there's nobody reviewing and commenting on the host community agreements because they don't have anybody to do it. So that's why they just turned them down. It was easier than reading them. they're understaffed. It's been chaos there.
So and I had no problem with the signed HCA. I was fine with it. It was agreed upon. We worked through it. It was a very collaborative process. But the state made it very clear of what they deemed illegal, and it had to go around the funds. It had to be documented.
You're being too kind to them. They did not read it. I mean, I can tell you because I know other attorneys in other towns are dealing with them. If they called or emailed, if their HCA got turned down, if they called or emailed the state, nobody was even returning their calls or their emails. Because there's nobody there to do it. Or whoever was there said, the safest thing for me to do is just say no. So that's where they've been operating. So it doesn't surprise me.
I had a newborn when I started, and she's turned 3 this summer.
Yeah.
I've been working through this, and it's not from not trying.
And I think some of the.
I'm the only one, I think, of the 3 that's.
The other 2 haven't done much of anything.
I have followed pretty much every timeline promise that I presented, and it just took. Do
you know anything about the other 2 in Whitman?
I don't. I know.
So they're not going to happen, right?
I reached out to Brian just because he's a super nice guy.
Yeah.
I said, listen, I'm going through this process. You might want to get ahead of it.
Yeah, I don't know if the town reached out or not, but we made that clear at the meeting with the selectmen that the other 2 applicants, if they go forward, are going to have to go through the same process. And we want to be consistent with what requirements we impose on people. I mean, the one at 356 South Ave at least began doing some work in the building, but that seems to have anything going on in that building?
I don't think they're going to be moving forward with that. They are doing some other stuff in that building.
Yeah, and Jamie's, obviously Jamie's is still standing, so nothing's happening there.
Have you heard anything about Jamie's?
And I would think the special permit would have expired by now.
You've got clear language in this one that if they don't start by a certain time, the special permit.
Yeah.
Assuming they put the same.
But I think, at least in the case of Jamie's, I don't see, well, I'm not going to make a legal judgment whether they exercise the special permit in any way, but the building's still there. So we'll see if the other 2 even, I certainly have doubts that we'll hear anything.
I've been committed to the town since when I got the signed HCA, within a week or 2, I scheduled my abutters meeting. And I held it, I sent it out, and then I submitted my application within a month after that. And then I went through the whole special use permit process. I believe it was last end of July or August where I got it. And then
you
hire a builder, go through all the things, and I've really kind of tried to push this as best I can and be as aggressive as I can, but also doing it.
Well, and you were the one who moved into a ready building. The other 2, is going to involve much more construction. So we always thought yours would go first, even if the other 2 had proceeded expeditiously. And they thought you would open first.
Whatever we do tonight is in addition to all the conditions that we put in the.
Well, here's what I did. When I drafted this, so that there wouldn't be confusion and having to look at 2 different documents, this is intended to replace any of the conditions that are in the first special permit. I just carry things over so that there'd be a single set of conditions. The one I want to call out, and just what's your name there?
Mary Ann Cote.
Mary Ann Cote, just so we have that on the record. I'm going to jump right in and before going to the board and just say, do you have any questions? And
Lucky me. We get the one that opens. John, the last time we were here when Sweezy was putting up his building, I remember, and I left and you guys were still talking, but the hours were 7 to 7. Now, was that just for the back storage?
Yeah. So you were here at the building when we approved the site plan for Sweezy.
Yep.
And yes, we put a condition on the back building. The hours of that I remember. I don't know that I have that. I don't think I had that.
And they were only supposed to store back there. There's not supposed to be any work being done or anything.
Yeah, I don't remember how the conditions fit, but we definitely put a different condition on the back.
Not being followed, but anyway, so the front building is 7 to 10?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was.
Retail, so.
Yeah, and that was, again, I know we had a discussion of that at the hearing on your application. That that was sort of the hours, maximum hours the selectmen were allowing. We talked about whether it should be less, and then we just felt it's on Route 18, you know, if McDonald's can be open, you know, whatever hours, you know, you're not gonna be open 7 AM to 10 PM because it makes no economic sense to do that. But we just said, let's not put limitations on it.
And I saw in here that the parking for the businesses in the back, is there a reason for that?
The employees are to park in back so that customers will only park, all the space in front of the building will be for customers. We didn't want employees,
That's why they did that.
we didn't want employees taking up the space in front.
There's not a lot of spaces, period, so they wanted to make sure there was enough for customers.
And how many employees would you have at a
We
time?
actually reduced the number of point of sales from 10 to 6, so I'm hoping that we'll have 7 employees, 8 employees.
At one time.
At one
At
time,
one time.
yeah.
So 8 cars
Yeah.
Potentially, yes.
on top of,
Whatever's in
Whatever's
customers
already
coming
back.
through.
Yeah.
With the average transaction, just under 10 minutes. That's usually our transaction time. It's definitely very different than the tanning salon or the
the
nail salon.
transaction is being in the front.
Right.
In the front. Yep, it's in the front, right through
Yeah.
the front storefront, right? The same set of doors, the other suites as the nail salon.
Right, but that doesn't affect the 8 cars in the back. The
Yeah.
transaction time.
Nope.
No.
The 8 cars are gonna be.
Yeah.
That's the employees are gonna park back. And again, so that's so customers will not be coming to the back. You won't have traffic going back and
Yeah.
forth. Those people will come in and they're parked for their shift, so.
Are you gonna have any growing done in that area?
It's not our
No.
license is retail only.
Yep,
I think it was the other applicant had.
yeah, one of the other applicants,
Applicant was-
although they dropped that part of it eventually anyway, so. Yeah, this is strictly, you'll have product delivered to your place,
Nothing is produced there.
right,
And where will they be delivered, front or back?
Deliveries will come in the back. You know, there's strict rules within the CCC, so it has to be come in through a secure thing under camera, and an unmarked van. So very similar to with our cash pickups, everything will come through the back.
yeah. So again, Mary, we're talking about the front building, we're not talking about the rear building, so.
I have a big green building, which is perfectly fine. I'm building my own green wall. But then I have a section of stockade that has fallen down and he hasn't put back up. That's like a clear sight line. As long as that fence stays up, so that, I mean, I can't even go up my backyard. You know, we got a tree company there that works out of there. It shouldn't, but it does. All I want to do is go up my backyard. I've been there 40 years. I just want to live out the rest of my life there and just go work in my gardens.
So,
And it gets very difficult, but now we're adding 8 cars and we're adding more traffic and, it's gonna pass, I know it's gonna pass. Those are my objections for what it's worth.
well, but Rob, I mean, I'm sure we had a condition, and I'm sure the site plan, when Sweezy got the site
Talking
plan
about
for the
the back
property, the fencing,
No, that was not part of the condition.
It wasn't?
That was, he refused to do it. They wanted him to put up evergreens. Be a good neighbor, he refused to do that. Somehow the fence ended up there, but there's just sections of it are down.
So Rob can help you with that. He can.
yeah, Rob, could you
So
review?
I don't know if it was part of the site plan that the fence was necessary.
Yeah, I don't recall, I brought the copy, I brought the copy of his special permit, but I didn't bring the copy of, the original.
Yeah, the
Permit.
original site plan approval, we had.
So, I mean, there was site plan approval long before they approached. Sweezy came in with, and was this while you were building inspector?
I was building.
Okay, so there was a site plan approval for the structures themselves by the owner of the property.
Take a look.
And then it was months later that,
That was 2
Yeah.
years before this.
yeah, and there were conditions put on how the rear
You can come to
building,
my office and.
Yeah.
It's an issue.
absolutely.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
The deliveries that come for us, it's not like the Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's where they're big 18-wheelers. They're usually they're sprinter vans, like the Tracer vans. So I just they're not these giant 18-wheelers that you see at Wendy, CVS. So they're,
And how frequently would you be having deliveries?
I would say about 10 or 12 deliveries a week.
Okay. So 1 or 2 a day.
We try to maximize.
Or maximize
Yeah.
because of the security issues,
Yeah.
get it all done.
Because we have to have somebody out there inspecting it and letting them in, signing them in. There's one person that stays with the van, so it's a very secure process.
Okay.
So we're going to try to minimize kind of moving the staff out there.
Okay.
Security in what way? What makes them secure? People or?
People.
People.
And cameras. And,
Not armed.
No, we're not having. I said I would not have armed. I don't want armed.
and the whole security.
But you'll save a lot of money not having to have canes, because you're not gonna have many people my age coming in.
You'd be surprised.
You'd be surprised, Wayne.
I'm telling you, you'd be surprised.
Most people my age who don't need stuff like that, they do it anyway.
They like the soft drinks and they like the seltzers, the soft drinks.
If you drive downtown, you get it.
Yeah.
Get back on subject.
Anything else, Arian?
No.
Okay. All right. The one condition, and we'll have whatever discussion you want in any conditions, but the one I wanted to bring up is condition number 11, which I put during the initial 15 calendar days after retail sales begin. Sales are to be limited to the pickup of orders placed in advance, online or by telephone, and sales by appointment. So the original permit for Berkeley Botanicals had a 30-day soft opening period because you suggested it or offered it.
Yeah.
And so we put it in there. Then when the other two applicants came in, they said, well, wait a minute, 30 days is an awful long time. Berkeley's going to have been open before we get there anyway, so any problems that there would have been, any sudden surge of business and would have been taken care of, so would you make it less? So we agreed to make it 15 days for the other two businesses. When I drafted this, I just thought, wait a minute, we've had another year go by here. 2 more places have opened in Abington. Another place is open in Brockton. What do we really need here that protects the town, but it's fair to the applicant too? So, Mark, I guess I'll just ask you, what's, your...
Well, it's been the market's changed so much in the last, 2 years since we started this. I'll obviously agree to whatever the town feels comfortable with. Always done that. But it's just there is the 2 that opened up in Abington. There is one that's opened up in Brockton. Another one on the way in Brockton. So, the pie is getting bigger. And with Bridgewater now allowing adult use, I believe ACS on Elm Street opened up. They converted from medical only to co-located. So we're seeing some of these other towns that weren't allowing it are now allowing it. So I don't see the same kind of volume that we expected when we first met 2 years ago. I still think we're going to be successful. It's a great partner to the town, but it's not going to be the lines of 3-4 years ago that were on the news. It's the reality. There's just so much competition now.
Are you okay with reducing it from 30 to 15?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there any delivery happening from that location?
Delivery?
Yeah.
No.
You don't do any deliveries?
No, believe it, we're not allowed to do delivery.
No, that's...
We did not. So we don't actually have a delivery license. We're not allowed by law to have one. It only goes to social equity licenses.
Yeah, the state has...
Yeah.
The state's not allowing stores to have their own delivery because they...
Oh, because they're a grow facility?
No, they've actually partnered with it's social equity. So
Yeah,
it's
the state will only...
Is that the one?
Aid Health, they contract with somebody else, so they don't do it themselves.
But they deliver from that location.
The courier will come and pick stuff up. Somebody will place it online, and they will go around.
Been arrested already.
It's like Uber Eats.
You have to have been arrested already for it.
Yeah, so the state will only give these delivery licenses to social equity applicants and some other kinds of licenses too.
Yeah, if it's there's a list. I think it's
It is
21 towns and cities. If you're a resident of, if you're a veteran, minority, or another protected class, or you've been hurt by the previous laws before marijuana became legal.
Yeah.
It allows you to get this special license. We're not by law able to get one.
and even those that having difficulty because the original state law required there to be 2 people in the truck.
Yeah.
For security reasons. That makes it very uneconomical. Again, the Cannabis Control Commission is thinking of reducing that to 1 person.
They already have. They've actually
Did they already?
Okay. It just went into effect in the last
Okay.
month. It's now
Okay.
1 person for home.
So-
the social equity home deliveries, because they were having a really hard time, surviving.
Yeah,
Because it's the cost to keep 2 full-time people
yeah.
in a vehicle, and it was tough on them.
So might there be deliveries from your place? Not, you won't be doing it, but if
No,
somebody got a
We're
license?
going to do our home deliveries based out of, if we partner with somebody out of Berkeley, where our other location is. That's where our grow is located. where we
Okay,
grow.
but I mean, if somebody got a license to do home delivery and wanted to work with you?
We would still do it down at Berkeley. That's where our hub is. That's where we keep the most inventory.
Okay.
I don't want to keep a lot of inventory on the shelves ever.
Okay,
So it's a much bigger facility. It has a separate vault in the middle of the building. With this just being a single retail, I'm going to minimize cash and product at all times. That's what I spoke with the police about when we met over a year ago. So it's easier for me to keep it out of one area.
Okay.
And we only can deliver to yes towns. Like there's actually a list of towns the CCC has that are allowed to accept home delivery.
okay. All right, with that, I'm just gonna go, I don't know if you wanna go condition by condition, or you want me to just go from the end and just ask any conditions that you have an issue with, how you wanna do this.
I don't have any issues, John.
All right,
It's great.
all right.
You did a good job.
Again, just to explain, some of these were just carried over from the previous special permit. Some, I focused on the conditions involving the coordination with the police department and the security system, and just kind of beefed that up to reflect what had been in the host community agreement, because we had some of that in the special permit, but not very much. So this is a little more specific. The odor control thing there, which I know was covered in the original hearing anyway, but that was something that was in the host community agreement that wasn't in our permits, so I put that in
Everything
there.
we have is also pre-packed and child resistant.
Right, you're
We
not,
still have odor mitigation that's designed within it,
yeah,
but we're not going to grow. That's where, a lot when the
you're not gonna mix
Yeah,
it
we're not
all,
making,
it all
we're not
comes to you,
agitating, we're not using any.
Right.
It's just coming pre-packed.
yep. And, other than that, it really, I put a specific provision in here that if they get busy enough that police department thinks they need details, they have to have them. And then the last condition, number 15 here, again, I'm sure you're gonna open it once you can.
Yeah.
But I put that in there thinking ahead to the other 2 applicants, if they do come back to us. I want a condition saying, how does this expire and go away? Because again, without the host community agreement the town's host community agreement had provisions in there.
Yeah.
So you didn't, because since the town can only issue 3 permits, you don't want to issue a permit to one person, one company, and have them sit on it for 5 years when somebody else could open the business and be paying money to the town. So I put that last condition in there just.
Where are they, the other applicants at right now for time?
I think they may have, it's possible their special permits have already expired.
Well, it's 2 years, right?
No, I don't think we've ever amended the town bylaw to make it more than 1 year. Right? Is it 1 year?
No, it's
The bylaw says 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the state doesn't mandate that the state says you may.
But the COVID, wasn't that a special?
There was a special.
That was an expiration, right?
Yeah,
That was an expiration.
that's gone
So
by.
that would be exercise the rights granted by the special permit, which as long as,
356 South Ave, they did start working on it. If they're still working on it, I don't know.
they don't have a permit. Right?
But Jamie's, have they exercised
They
the right?
have- No, they're done.
Yeah, so,
But that's up to.
I mean, that's up, that'll be up to the building inspector to determine.
Not that they'd be done, they'd have to come back to see the board.
Well, with a special, it's not a
They're gonna have to go
variance,
back anyway.
it's a special permit, not a variance, so they have to exercise it and be moving forward.
Substantial.
Yeah, making an effort. whereas the variance, if it expires, but it's not, it's a little fuzzier for the special permit. Anyway,
So they'll need a new special permit.
I mean, well, they may need a new special permit anyway, and in any case, before the selectmen would sign a new host community agreement with them, they're gonna have to agree to come back to us just as Berkeley has done. So they're not going anywhere without coming back
So you
to us.
guys could be the ones and only.
I think that's.
We've been pushing the process. We've been trying to push it
Yeah.
forward.
Which is probably better.
I-
Town doesn't need three.
I never thought all three would open. I mean, it's just economically, it was never gonna make sense, so. And as I said, you had the building that was ready to go.
Oh,
There's two of them.
two and a half.
Well, that one right on, is that 106?
Is it flowered and sold?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's prime
nobody
malls.
ever there.
It's the one in the center of town. They seem to be pretty busy, right at the intersection. I there's cars in there. Well, I don't know. I don't know how much you have to sell to make a profit. But
Every time you go in, it's busy. No. Okay, so you're fine with this, Bob Keeman,
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Wayne?
I'm happy with it.
Okay, Bob Kimball, any
Great job.
comments? Okay,
yeah, great job.
Mr. Blas?
Just, the only thing I just want to make sure that on, my concern is you drive through Brockton, there's already like 13 of these pot shops. People, they don't even get to the car yet, and they're lighting up. And all you smell is the reek of pot. And so does number 9, where you have the one spot that says or on-site social consumption, is that enough to?
No, on-site social consumption are the marijuana bars.
Okay, so
doesn't-
how do we, since this overrides our previous conditions, is there something that we should be saying to the effect that there shall be no on-site consumption from the customers?
Do we have
I guess
anything?
the question is,
There's nothing other than that.
Is there, can they walk out of a liquor store? Are the liquor stores held to say, stop?
Well, actually, the town has a bans public consumption. Is it just on public property? There is that
would be through the police.
Yeah, it's a police issue, not a building inspector issue. But the town still has a ban on public consumption of marijuana. It may only be on public ways and public property. And I thought I had put
And
some.
if they're consuming on the way out and getting behind the wheel of the car, they're now under the influence.
Yeah.
So there shouldn't be any.
Everything
consumption.
comes pre-packed. Nobody can consume on our property. When somebody gets into their car, we can control until they get to their car.
Yeah.
And what we do is we make it very clear, you cannot.
Oh, here we are.
Packaging. And while you're within our camera view, but our camera views stop once they get into their automobile.
If you look at
Their license plate.
if you look at condition number 4, I did cover this, the second section where the business is reminded the town bylaws prohibits public consumption on public ways, sidewalks, and other areas accessible to the public. If necessary, the business shall inform its customers of these requirements so as to discourage use on or adjacent to the business location. And again, and to cooperate with the police department. So I'd be hopeful if
there is no on our property. It's part of our signage requirement.
All right, so you're going to have a sign saying no
The state
consumption.
requires it.
Oh, really?
They have required signage.
Okay, so you'll at least have a sign saying no consumption on
Yes.
the business property.
That's why we're under video surveillance. There is no consumption.
They can drive out in the street and light up.
I can't stop somebody in their car.
You cannot drive out in the street and look up it's on.
Well, at that point, they'd be violating the town bylaw. Whether they're actually under the influence or not, if they're using it on the public ways, they're violating the town bylaw and the police could arrest
It's
them
like the
for
open container law.
Yeah.
But, becomes a police matter. Okay, well,
All right,
so
I
there is
just wanna make
signage.
I want to make sure.
There is a condition here, so, if this becomes an issue, the police can go to you and say, what can we do to get the news to the customers? And that's the idea. If you're
And we
going
share,
you're going to work cooperatively with
Yeah.
them. That's
We will not let anybody light up or do anything before when they leave. Like, we are watching on camera. We have to. It's very clear what the rules are. They cannot open up. You're not allowed. Like, we're not going to jeopardize our license unless
Including the employees that come around the back.
nobody is. It's probably. I mean, nobody's allowed to. There's nobody that's exempt from that rule. Like the same thing with people that are medical marijuana patients that have a medical license and they use RSO or tinctures for relief, whatever, for their cancers or other ailments. That they're allowed to do that within the law. They're allowed to operate on.
Yeah.
But
Out of cur-
I'm sorry.
Just reminder. Out of curiosity, in your existing store, what percentage is of what you're selling is smokable marijuana versus edible?
I would say right now for smokable, and when I say smokable, it's just flower and pre-rolls. Then you have vaporizing, which that's a different thing. So smokable, I would say it's about 55% of the products we sell. Then I would say another 15% is the vapes, and then 10% is concentrates, and it's such a small percentage on the soft drinks and edibles.
Huh.
It's just the way the mix is. It doesn't, because it's such a low dose in the state for adult use, people don't tend to really go for them as much because they get just the value in, I guess, in their minds with a 5 milligram per dose.
Okay.
So one whole seltzer is 5 milligrams.
So, but like I don't know, I guess they have gummies.
Yep, it's 5 milligrams.
That's 5, and I don't know if that's a lot or a little.
It's one of the smallest and the lowest doses in the country for adult use.
Okay.
So people don't get enough of a
So
kick. So they're not-
this is recreational, but if someone has a medical card, they can come in to your.
Anybody that's 21 or older,
Yeah, they
but
don't
we cannot, it's medical marijuana has different dosing for edibles. We can't buy that and we can't sell it.
Okay.
We can only sell an edible that's 5 milligrams. I believe medical has 20 or 30 milligrams per dose. They can sell a 20 or 30 milligram.
So that's where. So
we can
it's.
serve a medical patient, and we do that at our Berkeley location. We give an everyday medical discount with a medical marijuana card, but they still have the same rules: 1 ounce per day. That's all they can buy.
And would you do that in Whitman too?
Yeah, that's what we do. We do veteran. We do.
And they just don't pay the tax, right?
No, they still pay the tax.
They still have to pay tax. Okay,
Yeah,
I thought
because we're not a medical marijuana, they still have to go through the 3 taxes: the state, local, and town.
So they're better off going to a medical marijuana store.
And we give a good enough discount that it offsets the tax and try to keep the price pretty low.
Oh, okay. All
All
right.
right.
I learned.
So I don't know where I was and just polling the board. Are you okay with it? All right. Mr. Jones, anything?
No.
Okay. All right. So I think we're ready then to close the hearing and take a vote. So this.
Are there any letters to read into the?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Thank you. Board of Health. The Board of Health has no objection to the amendment. I'll summarize this. Records indicate this property is connected to municipal sewer and municipal water. Please be aware that should Berkeley Botanicals intend to operate a recreational marijuana retail store, they will need to obtain a retail food license from the Board of Health prior to opening. Sincerely, Dan Kelly, Health Agent. Is that so? That's for the edibles. Is that coming?
Yeah, some town has their own different thing, but I can't until I get the provisional license. I can't go full.
Yeah.
It's just like I can't get ahead of that one.
Yeah. The planning board, at the October 22nd, 2024 meeting, the board reviewed the plan for 305 Bedford Street. The planning board recommends approval of the requested relief. Fire Rescue and Emergency Services has no objections to this proposal, provided all applicable fire and building codes are met. Sincerely, Timothy Clancy, Fire Chief. Rob, have you already inspected the construction? Or
I've been in it. They had a couple of items they needed to finish up, but I was just waiting on the closing up of all this stuff.
So everything's basically been done from building codes point of view. Okay. All right. I think that's it. Anything further? Okay. So basically, I mean, it's going to be what was previously approved. We're just putting a few more conditions on it.
But is this special permit, if it gets approved, it's going to have these stipulations, John?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll include that. It's as part of it.
Yeah.
I'll probably repeat the findings from the original one just again, so it's all in one place. But other than that, just what we've
Which will still
discussed
be a
tonight.
15-day appeal period, right?
Yes, there would be still an appeal period, but you have plenty of time. And again, in number one, I referenced all the plans that we reviewed all of the, if you remember, they submitted whole packets of information. So I put that right into condition number one as incorporated here and by reference. So any representations they made to us in those materials they submitted, that's included in the condition. All right, so can I have a motion?
Approve the 15 articles as presented.
Okay, the proposed conditions.
Second.
Second by Mr. Blas. Any further discussion? All in favor? All right, good luck with it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Keep fighting the fight with this.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll see you within the next 2 months. Hopefully we can get on that December meeting, but this time will be in our training. Then we'll have a license. The issue with next day.
Mr. Chairman,
Have a great holiday, everybody.
Yeah, just,
Thank you.
I was going to go over the proposed zoning amendment. The proposed zoning amendment. Yeah, I'm sure it won't take too long. Okay, so we added to the agenda the proposed accessory dwelling unit bylaw. And again, I've got copies if anybody didn't print them out.
Well, give me a copy.
Yeah.
So, again, I'll explain where we are in this. And I think I covered this at a previous meeting. But the state has passed this bylaw, which basically overrides what we've had for accessory apartments, does not require owner-occupied, does not require that it be a family member, says it's by right. And it will take effect February 2nd. So the state, they're treating it as like a use like educational uses or churches or child care centers where you can't prohibit it, but you can have some reasonable regulations about the size, the bulk and density and so forth. But basically you're very limited in how you can regulate it. But the state did allow, some window for regulation. So if we do nothing, we're worse off than if we do something, is where we are. So what I want to try to do is if the planning board places an ad for the hearing on this zoning amendment and the ad runs in January, then anybody, even though we don't pass this until the May town meeting, and it still has to get approved by the Attorney General, somebody could come in February and ask for, building permit to go ahead with this, but they do so at their own risk.
I've already had.
Have you had?
Plenty of questions.
Really? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But this is just a general rule.
People coming in looking for this?
Oh, yeah.
Just as general rule for zoning amendments that if once you advertise a public hearing, they're on notice that the zoning might change. So anything they do from there on, they're operating at the risk. Consider a zoning amendment to change the use of the property. If they want to try to rush in and use it for its old use before it gets changed to a different use, they can go put up the building, but if the zoning gets changed, they're subject to the new zoning. So that's what I'm trying to get done. So the planning board, I drew this up, gave it to the planning board. They endorsed it last week. I think it's going to the selectmen tomorrow night because the selectmen have to refer it back to the planning board for them to hold a hearing. So if they do that, the planning board will have time to advertise the public hearing. The hearing can be in February, March, whenever, but we needed to get rolling to protect ourselves. So what I did was I took our existing accessory apartment bylaw, I saved what I could out of it, and the main things that I wanted to put into this that we won't have unless we pass the bylaw is number one, to make these new accessory dwelling units subject to site plan review, because they're not going to be subject to special permit, But the state does allow you to make it subject to site plan review.
Even if it's less than 3 units.
But everything I've
Yep.
been hearing, John, is you're gonna have to limit that to probably parking and a few other things.
Yeah, it's going to be very limited site plan review, but as we've seen, you know, when we've had site plan review for even like the multifamily or multi-use buildings downtown, we get to jawbone a little bit. And certainly, at least that way, there'll be a public hearing. The neighbors can come in, and if they have an issue, see if there's what we can do about it. But it will be limited to, you know, how much we can do. But we can, the kind of things we've had before, well, do you have to have the window on the side of the building? Can you, you know, there are some things we could do. So that's one thing, site plan review. Second thing is that I wanted it to be, if they're going to put it over a garage, because you're allowed to put it in an accessory building, well, our accessory buildings can be 10 feet from the property line. So I put in here a provision that they'll be subject to the setback requirements that would apply to the principal dwelling. I mean, if they put it in the principal dwelling, fine, they can do that. But if they're going to use an accessory building, either an existing garage or a brand new building, because there are companies advertising these modular
They're not
units.
limited to putting it over a garage.
No,
They
no.
can make it stand alone.
Yeah,
So if
there are companies
Putting
advertising.
it over the garage,
Wait a minute.
in the
Now,
garage.
Just because you kind of lost me there, but if somebody comes in and wants to put a 2-car garage with an in-law above it, or an ADU above it, they only need to be 10 feet from the property line?
Unless we do something about it.
Well, but standalone ADU, we want them to meet the setback.
That's what I'm saying. If we don't pass any bylaw, as far as the state's
No,
concerned,
I'm just saying, what does this say?
this will, where do I have this? It's condition I on the second page. No, I'm sorry, not that one. H. So what I'm trying to say there is if they're going to have an accessory structure,
So
it has to observe the
that
setback.
takes away the 2-car garage with an accessory.
Yep, unless the 2-car garage is 30 feet or whatever the district's requirement
Do you
is.
agree with that one?
That's,
So what you're saying is you want it to be the same as a primary
Yeah,
unit? I think
We all talked about that. If it's a single-story structure, then you'd want it to meet the setbacks. But if it's an accessory, it only has to be 10 feet.
it's gonna depend on what you as a board wanna do with it. I mean,
well, we could try it.
yeah, I mean, and if you,
Yeah, I think it's a good rule. Yeah, I think it's a real good rule. I don't know whether
Well,
it's
that's gonna make
fly.
anything that we've approved in the past non-conforming.
No, because have we approved anything standalone?
maybe one or two over a garage, and I,
Oh, the one over on, off Alden Street, what's that?
yeah. That, I can't remember how far from the property line that was.
so what you're doing is you're promoting them to put it over a garage because they have a lesser setback. Would that be accurate?
No, we're preventing them. If they put a garage that's close to the property line, we're saying if it's a dwelling, it has to
Well,
meet
see,
the,
Yeah, I don't agree with this. But if you just put in a 2-car garage next week, and 2 years later you wanna put an ADU above it, you can't.
tough crap.
That's what would, if we do nothing, you could.
Yeah, no, well, we're gonna do something. That's,
If we do something, that's what I think. I don't think you should be able to do it if it's 10 feet from the property line.
Well, with this board and what you've done in the past, would you allow somebody that has an existing 2-car garage that is 10 feet off the lot line to put an accessory apartment?
We-
I think you have.
Maybe once it's first, if it's attached to the house, it's subject to the setback requirements for the house. So that's not an issue. We had the one on, I forget the name of the street, the one off of Alden Street. They got
Lakeview.
Lakeview. I can't remember what the setback was on that, to be honest.
I believe the setback was all right, but the stairs were in the,
Is that, okay, so maybe it wasn't.
That was tight over there.
Yeah. I don't know if there was a second, there was another one involving a farmhouse on Auburn Street. I can't remember if they ever came back to us. We turned them down, and I don't know if they ever came back to us.
They finished that.
Did they? And then,
Dennis.
Dennis Smith.
Dennis Smith was the separate one.
But I think we might have given the variance there anyway. I mean, we could always give a variance, but, so it hasn't been that much yet.
Well, I think, like you said, it gives you the option to have them come back in to grant the variance.
Yeah, I mean, we could always give it. Again, we can, I mean, this isn't finalized anyway, because it's gonna go through a public hearing, and frankly, it's gonna get reviewed.
When does it have to be final? If we want to make changes tonight, we really can't, right?
Well,
It's kind of late for that?
We can't, in that it's going to the selectmen in this form. If you're okay endorsing it, once it goes back to the planning board, it can be changed. And that's why you have a public hearing, because there may be changes to be made. So there'll be an opportunity to change it.
We've done some training. You've been to both of them, right?
I've been to, 2 or 3 of them.
There's a couple of things that, if I might just bring up. One of them is short-term rental. Another one was, I think that the consensus when the state was trying to help us out, they were saying that anything that was pre-existing non-conforming would require a variance to put a standalone on the property. I kind of had a problem with that.
Yeah, well, that's why I did put a condition in here. It's to specify that if it's a non-conforming structure.
That's a determination.
I wanted at least to make it clear that it would require a finding.
You could eliminate a whole bunch of them by just saying you need a variance if it's existing.
I don't know that I could read the state law to say that you need a variance.
That looks like it's going to be okay.
The seminars I went to also, the attorneys giving the presentation were they were still unsure of what, because is it going to require a special permit? And then I've already been asked them, get prepared for this. If you're going to get 2, 3, 4 families coming in asking for special permits and variants for ADUs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the law did direct the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, DHCD, directed them to come up with regulations and guidelines. They haven't done it yet. So,
are we going to get those in December at the Sabola meeting? I think we might get something.
Yeah, but my idea is, first, as long as this thing moves along, town council will review it, and town council can talk to the attorney general informally and say, what do you think? And obviously, if between now and May, presumably the state will issue regulations by then, because they know everybody's going to town meeting. So if the regulations say, nope, you can't do I'm not sure we can require site plan review, because we don't require it for single and 2-family houses. So I put in here, we're requiring site plan review, notwithstanding the fact that we have this, that we don't require it for 1 and 2-family houses. But I could see the state saying, well, wait a minute, if you're not doing it for that, you can't do it for this.
They may want to see what exactly you're asking us.
But there's a lot of these questions, Bob, the state had, and everybody else, people are saying, well, what about this? And the state is saying, we didn't think of that. We
really just need to get
something in the works.
Something in the works. Something on that.
Yeah.
But under K, John, the dwelling units that have been previously received special permits for use as an accessory apartment shall henceforth be considered so they'll be converted to.
I just figure let's put something in here to clarify that.
But my question is, and your continued use shall be allowed subject to the provisions of this section. So if you didn't have pre-existing and once the thing gets converted,
that's not good wording. Yeah, that we'll need to change that wording. Probably should just be shall be allowed. I just wanted to clarify their status.
The other thing is about separate utilities. If you have a standalone, there's no reason for that.
Yeah, and I don't know did I put anything in here about that?
Well, you did under the attached. If it's located, all additional stairways of this.
I think I did, but I'm trying to remember where because I think I just carried that over, but,
F. Served and monitored, it's F, yeah. By common gas, electric, and water meters. What's your feeling on that for detached?
Are you saying it has to be common?
yeah, that's,
I don't know.
I don't think the state's gonna allow that.
okay, so that's why some of this is gonna
That
change.
was a problem.
Yeah,
Then the other thing is that you did put it doesn't have to be owner occupied.
yeah, that I simply restated what's in the state law, just to
Well, and
clarify
I think
that.
that we
We can't require it.
Yeah, so I think that short-term rentals, is that in the code that has to be
So,
sprinkled?
yes,
Yeah,
it's a standalone,
So you're not gonna allow them to do it, but.
yeah, so, I mean,
unless they're gonna sprinkle it.
yeah,
But anybody coming in is not,
If somebody builds a standalone in their backyard.
they're not gonna tell you it's short-term rental.
Right, but you will eventually find out. So then you're gonna.
because the neighbors will complain.
Whitman is such
You're gonna
a
give an
tourist.
order, but do we need to talk about that?
Well, okay, so the state did,
The state doesn't want short-term rentals.
the state put in their law that we could regulate short-term rentals. I didn't put anything in here because we're not regulating short-term rentals now.
I think it's clear in the state's language that it's not going to, it shouldn't be a short-term rental.
No, and they're just starting with it, so, I don't know.
So we may add that, but I just figured we don't have anything in our zoning bylaw now
Right.
regulating short-term rentals.
Right.
So I don't want to start putting it
Are
in here.
you gonna hold them to 900 square feet in that?
Yes, because all I did
That's
is
the
in
state law.
A, I just,
Well, you can go bigger if you want, but the suggestion was you need to call it something different.
yeah,
A large ADU or something outside of
Yeah.
what the state is.
yeah. So I just took the definition of an ADU that the state put in their law and just reproduced it in
Yeah,
A.
what about if somebody wants another one?
So,
Well, a
and,
good circumstance would be mine. I have a
yeah,
accessory apartment in my house, and I've got plenty of room for another unit in the back, and you wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah.
I put
so,
almost unlimited.
yeah, well,
No,
As
so,
long as you
can restrict it to one.
yeah, so this
No.
restricts it,
I don't think we
this
can.
restricts the allowance by right to one unit in B.
By
Right. You
You
can
Okay.
require a special
But
The
permit.
you
state-
require a special permit,
So
right?
here's, the state put in the law that a special permit, I can't remember the exact
Three or
wording,
more.
shall be required for, more than one. But the wording in the state law, it's unclear whether the state is saying to you, if you want to allow more than one, it has to be by special permit, or whether the state is saying, you have to allow one by right, and you have to have a special permit procedure for more than one.
I thought it was
It's un-
allowed two by right, and anything more than two, you could demand a special permit.
It's one accessory dwelling unit by right.
Yes.
Okay,
Well, no,
plus-
I thought it was two ADUs by right.
No, one accessory dwelling unit by right.
Well, by right would be the primary dwelling unit and the
And,
accessory.
yeah, that's the
That's
second
your
one.
two.
Yeah, but the state, it's unclear, the way the law was written, it's unclear whether we can prohibit more than one accessory dwelling
You
unit,
can allow it by
or
special
whether we have to allow it, but we can have special permit for it. It's not clear. I'm hoping, that's something I'm really sure the state's gonna have to issue regulations on,
Yeah.
because that's a
I
real
wouldn't want to have
ambiguity.
Rob's job after all this is going on.
Well, I was the guy that stood up at the last board meetings telling that attorney, I'd like to thank you for all the lawsuits that are gonna come in.
There's gonna be a shitload of interest. Well, there's another one about the 100 feet of frontage, 10,000 square foot.
There's,
That's 75,
yeah, there's another,
Is it 75?
75 feet frontage, 10,000 square foot lot,
Is it?
common ownership.
I have one of those on Auburn Street, and it made one. I have two 100-foot lots. There's a house on one of them,
yeah,
and the one next door was forever joined. That's how the law works. Now that's a buildable lot.
Yeah.
For 300 grand.
yeah, that's another provision of state law that I'm not dealing with because we have no control over that. They're basically, used to be you lost your grandfathering rights if you didn't separate them
Right.
way back when. we've often allowed people to come in and we've get, if it fits the neighborhood, we've given them the variance.
long as you're not-
If they owned it for 50 years. If they bought it 6 months ago, not so much.
You can only build a house 1,850 square feet.
So anyway, that's another piece of the law.
But you put an accessory dwelling, that's.
All right, so I guess, assuming I go to the selectmen's meeting tomorrow night, the reason to present it to you is if you're willing to at least sort of endorse going forward with this, knowing we may change some things, I'd like to be able to say to the selectmen.
I'll make a motion that we
Yeah,
allow
I guess
the
it should,
chairman to move forward with.
yeah,
to the
I guess
board
it
of
should be the 5 voting members, so.
Make a motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Curran, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Blas. Any more discussions, or just the 5 voting members? 5-0, okay. All right, I won't prolong the meeting, other than, let's whip off the minutes here.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We just have, thank you, Bob.
That's a deal. Take care.
We have the minutes for 100 Cortell Ave, the middle school, from the October 23rd meeting. Move to approve, Mr. Blas, is there a second?
This was just a continuation.
Yeah, except I see a necessary correction.
What?
We have Jim Chandler's name in here.
Oh, we have to take that out.
So it should be, let's see, Bob was not voting. Bob Keeman. It should be Bob Keeman. Okay? All right. With that change, can I have a motion to
Motion to approve.
approve by Mr. Andrews, second? By Mr. Keeman, all in favor? We'll include Mr. Kimmel on that because Mr. Curran wasn't sitting on that. And the general minutes for October,
Motion to approve.
motion to approve by Mr. Keeman, second by Mr. Andrews, all in favor? 5-0. Okay, we're done. So, next meeting is December 9th. December 9th. I sent out an email early today. We had a case come in after we had continued the middle school to 7, and not knowing how long that will go, we had another case come in, so we scheduled that for 6:30 so we can take care of that. And that'll, we just had a case come in today, and Kyle Garvey has some more in the works, but we'll schedule those in January.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that when we have this school department thing, on the 9th, that it can go no longer than 8:30. If they can't get their damn, whatever they want to talk about done in an hour and a half, then they're hoping.
Mr. Chairman, we're sitting here at 10 minutes after 9 and we've allowed discussion to go beyond 8:30. We shouldn't limit the school.
Well, let's put it this way. By 8:30, I hope we'll be talking about conditions. Okay? I'm not anticipating it.
No.
We want to get their feedback, and then I think we need to discuss conditions and so
They're
forth.
at 100% construction documents now, they're ready to go.
Yeah.
They've already ordered all the electrical stuff. Switch gears.
Well, it takes a year and a half to get them.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm hopeful it will not be an extremely lengthy meeting. I mean, it'll take a while because we need to throw back conditions back and forth. But I just want to hear what the response was to all the comments and everything. I just didn't want to move forward last time. It was late, and I wanted us to have time to think
They're
about it.
perfectly willing to work with the towns.
Yeah. All right. So I think we're ready to adjourn. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Keeman, second by Mr. Curran. All in favor? All right. Thank you all.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.